Hey, welcome back. This is Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com. Another week, another dating adventure. Today we're going to talk about, do I text him? These are answers to your 7 most relevant and most exciting texting questions. You know, it's funny how texting has blasted its way onto the scene to become just about the most important communication tool of the modern day, even more than email. You ever wonder why? Well, I think it's for a bunch of reasons. First of all, it's quick. You can send a message in just seconds. Messages are short and to the point, so you don't have to waste a lot of time. You can think before you speak, right? You can also say some pretty racy things that you might not have the guts to say to that person in person. And you don't have to engage in a 10 to 120 minute conversation with somebody. You also don't have to interrupt whatever you're doing to text somebody. There's a ton more reasons, but I'll bet there's one that you haven't thought of. You know, it's kind of addicting to put yourself in a state of, what will he say next? Or what will she say next? We like the suspense of not knowing what's going to happen next. It's like the thrill of a game show. We thrive on that kind of uncertainty. So it follows that, well, I get a ton of questions about how to text guys and how to do it right. So let's jump right into the top 7 texting questions you've got. Texting question number 1, do I text him first? Good question, and it cuts right to the heart of the responsible roles for men and women in relationships. Now, if you've just met a guy and you hit it off and then you exchange numbers, should you text him? In this day and age of female empowerment, it might seem like that's an okay thing to do. You might even hear a bunch of gurus and experts out there that tell you, go girl, you let him know you're interested. And I'm telling you, that's a bunch of BS, plain and simple. Don't buy into that nonsense. Men don't want women to chase them. If there's one thing that's murdered the power that women have had in the dating process and in relationships, it's feminism. Oh yeah, I know, I can hear you gasping in shock. I'll probably be vilified on somebody else's YouTube channel. Remember, I'm turning over a new leaf here, and I'm going to tell you the nasty, unspoken truth. If you just met this guy, you're going to be on pins and needles wondering if he's interested in you. And the only way you're going to really know that is if he texts you first or calls you first. But Carlos, what if he forgets? Or what if he doesn't text me? Well, if he doesn't do that, then he wasn't interested in you. Your texting him first will not change that one bit. Okay? Even worse, if you lack the self-control to hold back and you do text him first, you'll have totally ruined it for him. No more suspense. Now he'll know that you are more interested and he doesn't have to chase or work for you at all. After all, you're already chasing him. Remember, you need to see a man's interest in order for you to believe it and to feel adored. Texting question number 2, how much should I text him? Well, there's 2 sides to this question. The quantity, the amount you text him, how many words, and then how frequently during the day do you text him. I can probably simplify this a little bit. Just ask yourself, do I tend to work too hard in relationships? Am I a bit too much, too there? Do I lean into relationships instead of leaning back? Only you know your own behaviors, but if those questions feel like they're familiar to you, you might consider that you're the personality that's probably texting a little bit too much. It comes from, drumroll please, insecurity. I should know, I was like this for years. You gotta let go of that stuff, okay? When it comes to dating and texting, women tend to go overboard on the texting, so it's better to swing the pendulum the other way. A little less is better than a little more. All right, texting question number 3. Do I text him after the first date? This one's pretty close to the first question, but, well, first of all, you don't need to show a guy in any way that you're interested in him. If you went on the date with him, there you go, all right? Most importantly, you should not use texting as a backup plan for having not been a good date on the first place, okay? That's what a lot of people do, especially women. They tend to backpedal and do all the things in texting that they should have been doing on the date. Were you interesting? Were you listening to him? Were you showing interest with the way you were? Your way of being is going to tell him everything he needs to know and whether or not he's going to be interested in you the next time. The only thing you can send a guy after the date is, hey, I had a great time tonight. Drive safe. That's it. Texting question number 4, do I text him back? This is always going to be a question for you. Even 6 months into the relationship, you'll be asking yourself if you should reply or text him about this or that. First of all, again, ask yourself some questions. What has your pattern been so far? How much do you text versus how much he texts? Do his texts actually require an answer? If I really think about this, will answering his text either A, make him want you more, or B, less interested and curious about you. Remember, if you were a super busy person who doesn't have the time to check their phone every 10 to 15 seconds, you'd probably take a little bit more time to reply. The average person checks their cell phone every 12 minutes. That's 80 times a day. Really? That probably means we just need to get a life and get off our darn phones. Texting question number 5, do I text him too much? Yes, you do. Let me rewind a little bit there. I mean, I'm being serious, but I'm also being a little bit facetious. Okay, we're talking about the frequency of texting here, the number of times per day that you text him. Remember that men only text for a couple of reasons. 1, it's out of boredom. Don't be the person he goes to when he's bored. Pretty obvious, right? Or number 2, he's going to text you if he's looking to clarify logistics, like when and where something is happening. When is your date? Where are you guys going to meet? And so forth. Men don't typically text to find out how Sharon is doing, why she said that catty thing to you about your shoes. Nope, don't care. That you just saw some great new cat video? Don't care. That you're wondering how he's doing? He still really doesn't care. Sometimes he will text you to flirt with you and maybe to see if he can lure you into getting sexual with him in some way, sometimes leading to him sending you a picture of his junk. Again, we're not going there right now. He's just testing you with that. But your only concern is your ratio. How many times do you text him compared to him texting you? I suggest you strive for a rule of 2 to 1. He needs to text you twice for every one of yours. Make him earn your attention. That's how men are made to be obsessed with you. Texting question number 6, how can I get him to text me first? Well, first of all, don't text him first. I know that sounds actually silly, but most of the women I've coached found themselves giving in after a few minutes after they just couldn't handle their own suspense. Look, didn't your mama ever tell you how guys work? Okay, hang on, because Carlos is going to tell you. Men respond to the mystery and the thrill of what we haven't conquered. There's a harsh truth here. Stop trying to get a man to behave in some way that satiates or satisfies your insecurities. It does not make a man fall in love with you. Instead, just act like the woman who doesn't care if he texts her. Because if you're spending that much time wondering, where's your life? Texting question number 7 finally is, what should I say to him in my text? This is probably the most important question of them all. And I say this because I know for a fact that most women don't know what words work with men. If I told you that you need to make him curious about you and feel challenged by you, would you know what to say? It's true, by the way. Men need you to say things that inspire his curiosity and desire for you. But you don't know what he wants to hear exactly, especially if it's in a text message. Guys have their own language of love, and it's spoken completely up here in his melon, completely internally, inside our brains. This silent language of guys is probably the reason you've not been able to get him to open up to you, to see what you have together, to get him to see your value. Now, this language of love is the shortcut you've been looking for to get into his heart. It's never been transcribed or explained until now. If you'd like to discover what this language of love is and never let another man fall into some other woman's arms again, I highly recommend you go to the link you see below this video. Of course, what do you got to do? The big 3, you got to subscribe. Make sure you keep getting these fantastic Carlos Cavallo videos. Hey, I'm not doing this just for my own yapping. And of course, make sure you leave your comments below with your questions, and what else? You got to like it. I hope you liked it. This is Carlos Cavallo from datingadviceguru.com. As always, live and love with passion.